Word. All right, cool. So we're going to go over all of this, the 3 layers of change, the 2 laws of changing your identity or your beliefs, and then the 4 laws to build better habits. But to make this real, I want you to take 2 to 3 minutes to think about the 3 goals that are most important to you. 2 or 3 minutes. 3 goals that if you hit them would have a profound impact on your life, your family's life. This is going to help us out big time for the rest of this call. If you want to share them in the chat, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Give you another 60 seconds here. And if you just hopped on, we're writing down 3 goals that are most important to us. They can in our business, in our life. 3 goals that if we knew that if we hit these 3 goals, it would have a huge impact on our life and for our family's lives. All right, 10 seconds. Cool, I can see some of this in the chat. Yeah, go, feel free to share some of it in the chat. Okay, now out of those 3, which one is the most important? Which one would have the biggest impact on your life if you were to hit it, if you were to achieve that goal? Have a house, help more women, another child, financial freedom, I see in the chat. Pay off credit card. Yeah, paying off credit card. I can relate to that back in the day, for sure. That thing was hanging over my head. Student loans, that was hanging over my head. Okay, so you guys picked 3, and then you narrowed it down to the one that would have the biggest impact on your life, on your well-being. It would decrease a lot of anxiety and stress in your life. It would give you more fulfillment, more peace of mind. Okay, you guys probably see the heading of this next slide. So for those that don't know, this call or this presentation is a lot of my notes and top takeaways from a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. So I'm going to throw a little curveball at you, or James, is throwing a little bit of a curveball here where he says, forget about goals, focus on systems. That's not something that we typically hear. I don't think we should necessarily forget about goals. I love setting goals, but I understand his point. And I've seen a lot of coaches over the last decade plus that have gotten really caught up in goals without really creating a real system. And also Body Corporate puts a huge emphasis on certain types of goals that I've seen coaches get really caught up in and get discouraged about when they didn't hit them. So I just want to play this little 20-second video about having goals without really having a real system in place to go with them.
Achieving a goal only changes your life for that moment in time. Goals can create an either-or conflict. Either you achieve the goal and succeed, or you don't and you're a failure, even if you are making progress in the right direction. When you achieve a goal, what do you do after? If your goal was running the local marathon, chances are after completing it, your motivation will quickly fade. When you start any endeavor in your life,
I set a goal to do a presentation with slideshows, and I had to create a system to learn how to create slideshows. So systems and process. It's getting there though. Okay. Okay, so he talked about momentary change. So when we set goals and we're not focused more on like a long-term system, sometimes some of those goals we miss, or we might set a goal of hitting diamond rank. I've seen this happen 100 times. It's happened to me too. We set a goal of hitting diamond rank, and then if one of our coaches quits or a couple coaches quit on us, that those aren't controllables. And then we allow that to get us down. We allow that to start to dictate our own habits, our own goals, our own belief. Another thing he talks about with just setting goals without having a long-term system that you're more focused on is the either or conflict. So even if you're making progress in the right direction and you miss Success Club for a month, you get discouraged, and then you stop focusing on your systems. You stop focusing on your habits because you missed one goal that month. I've seen that happen 100 times. I know that's something I've gotten caught up in too. Setting goals versus being focused on the long-term process was one of the other things talked about in that video real quick. And that can be, again, rank. It can be going for some type of recognition where we're focused on that one goal and we get to it, but then we stop doing the things that got us there. One of my favorite quotes from the entire book is, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits, of your systems and habits. Okay, so for your most important goal that you identified in that first exercise, take just a minute or two. What are 2 or 3 habits that you know would help you get to that goal? 2 or 3 systems or habits that you know if you stayed consistent with those over the long haul, you would achieve that most important goal that you identified. And you can share it in the chat as well if you want. So if you guys are, for you guys that just hopped on, at the beginning of the call, we just took a minute or two to identify 3 goals that are most important to us, 3 goals that would have the biggest impact on us and our families. And now we narrowed it down to just that one most important goal. And now we're thinking of 2 or 3 daily habits that if we stuck with them and created a system around those, we would be able to achieve that. So go ahead and you guys can share that in the chat if you'd like. Doing all my work at the start of the day, setting a daily business hour, and actually doing the work. We're going to get into that. Yes, that's a great one. Get out of my comfort zone. Filling out the that. Be social. Yeah, that's a good one too. That's easier said than done sometimes. Plan ahead and become more social on social media, doing the bat. Okay. Okay, so we kind of understand that we rise to the level of our systems and habits, but we also have to understand the truth about progress. And unfortunately, there's a delayed result to our effort. And the author refers to that as the valley of disappointment. So New Year's resolutions, this is when most New Year's is when a lot of people decide to set new goals and maybe not put in place the best systems. And we're going to talk exactly about how to a four-step process to create habits that actually last. But for most people that are starting a new year, 98% of them will fall off with that New Year's resolution. Most of the time because they don't even start the habits correctly, or they get caught in this valley of disappointment where there's the delayed results. We all know that workouts with our business, the effort we put in, there's a delayed effect with the results. 98% of people fall off in this valley of disappointment, this delayed result. Whereas something that I remember saying, and we talked a lot about back in like 2014, was we called ourselves the 2%ers, because we knew that 98% of people would fall off when things weren't coming as fast as they would like it to. And we kind of made this pact that we were going to be the 2%ers. So that's something that, I kind of carry as part of like my identity in a way. Is I always want to be one of those 2%ers. I don't want to be part of that 98% that falls off or quits when things get hard, or things aren't happening as fast as I'd like. And Ashley Feldison uses the example of pebbles in the pile. Every little thing you do, every invite, everything you share on social media, every follow-up, every interaction is a small pebble. And it doesn't seem like much in the beginning, but over time, that little pile of pebbles becomes a mountain. So I just want to play this quick little 30-second video about the valley of disappointment, where that 98% of people fall off. And then it's also going to share about that delayed results where those 2%ers really live.
When you start any endeavor in your life, here is what you think should happen: linear progress. But here is what actually happens. Notice this section here in the beginning. Small changes in our progress are not even noticeable. James Clear refers to this part of the graph as the valley of disappointment. You've done so much, you've put in so much effort, and you can barely see any results. This is where most people fail and slip back into their old routines. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding process are delayed, so patience is required.
Okay, so we talked about the first level. We talked about goals. We talked about systems.
When you start any endeavor in your life, here is what you think should happen.
Okay. So there's three levels of change. There's three layers of change. And I like to think of it like an onion. The deeper the level, the bigger that change is going to have an impact on your life. The outer layer of change is outcomes. So setting goals, changing your goals. That's something that will start to have an impact on your life, but it's the furthest layer from the core. So that's layer one of the three. The second layer is processes. So the second layer is changing your habits, your daily habits, changing your systems. This is going to have a much bigger impact on your results, on your long-term goals, than just setting goals alone. So we have goals on the outer level, and then that second layer is processes, your habits, your systems. So at the core level is identity. So you can see here in the photo, outcomes, your goals, processes, your habits, and your systems, and then identity. These are your beliefs about yourself. So the problem is most people go in the wrong direction. And I have done this as well. I start from the outside in. I set goals and then start working on them versus identifying who I want to be, who I want to become, and then work backwards from there. Then I can start to decide what kind of processes and habits I want to put in place. So my own personal example. So my first 4 years as a coach, I had goals. I started from the outside, that outer layer. I had a why list. I had a game plan and systems, but I didn't change my beliefs. I didn't change that inner core. So some of the things that I had going on in my mind as far as like beliefs were, those successful people have some weird skills that I don't. They know the right people that I don't. They got in at the right time and I didn't. My friends, my family, maybe my coworkers will think that this is stupid. I don't have enough time. If I was going to be successful, it already would have happened by now. Who do I think I am to teach or contribute to others? Who do I think I am that I could be a leader? So even though I had these big goals and I had a game plan and a system and daily habits and a tracker, I didn't stay consistent with those things because at the core, I didn't have the right beliefs. I had self-limiting beliefs, which never allowed me to stay consistent enough with my habits and systems to achieve those goals that I really wanted and all those things on my why list. And I think this is one of the biggest things that coaches struggle with. They're great at setting goals. They are great at finding a system and daily habits that they know are going to help them get there. But at the core, they have these self-limiting beliefs that are holding them back from staying consistent with those systems. So I want you guys to just take, and this is really important. So I want you to just take 2-3 minutes tops to really think about this. And you can write it down. I think it's more powerful to use pen and paper. What are 3 persistent negative thoughts that you're currently holding? I shared a few of mine. There were quite a bit from the beginning. But these were the things at the core that I didn't really think about because I was so focused on my goals and my why and the daily habits. I didn't think about these core beliefs that unknowingly were holding me back. It wasn't until I really got clear on these things and started to work through them that my core belief, my core identity, as he calls it, started to change. My belief around these self-limiting thoughts started to change. And as a result, I became much more consistent with my systems and started hitting those things on my why list. So I've always found it more powerful to write it down. I would recommend writing it down, but you can also share it in the chat if you want. So why would anyone think I could help them? I don't have my own life together. Yep, that's a common one. I don't know how to share this opportunity. No one wants to sign up with me to join my team, so there's no way I can be successful. I can't be present with my toddler and be successful with this business at the same time. If I was going to be successful in this, I already would have been by now. I had that same one. I should be there already. Okay. Now just take 2 minutes And if these beliefs or self-limiting beliefs persisted for the next 5 years, what would that cost you? What would that cost you in the next 5 years? What is it costing you right now? But if these self-limiting beliefs stayed with you and were your core beliefs, what would that cost you a year from now, 3 years from now? I know what it cost me those first 4 years. But I didn't at the time. Until I really sat down to think about it. And this is true with everything in life, not just your body business. People have these beliefs like that they just repeat over and over to themselves for their entire life. I'm terrible with directions. I'm not a morning person. I'm bad at remembering people's names. I'm always late. I'm not good with technology. My mom, she always says that. I'm not good with technology. I'm never consistent. I always give up. I don't have what it takes. They always quit on me. When you have repeated a story to yourself for years, it's very easy to slide into those old beliefs and slide back into that old identity. Okay. I want to play this quick 30-second video about the 3 layers of change.
Most people focus on the outcomes, but the best way to change your habits is by focusing on the person you want to become instead of the results that you want. The goal isn't to learn an instrument, it's to become a musician. The goal isn't to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. When something you want in your life becomes part of your identity, that is when your behaviors will start to naturally change. When you tell yourself and others, I'm a runner, you want to live up to that identity. Remind yourself, every time you do a workout, you are an athlete. Every time you write a line of code, you are a programmer. And each time you instruct your team, you are a leader.
Here's one of my favorite quotes from the book. The biggest barrier to positive change at any level, individual and team, is identity conflict. Good habits can make rational sense, but if they conflict with your identity, you will fail to stick with them long term. That's why using I am statements is so powerful. Each time I work out, I am an athlete. I don't care if you've never played a sport in your life. When you work out, you are an athlete, even if you work out for 2 minutes. Each time I read, I am a reader. I am someone who loves to learn. I am someone who loves to grow. Each time I share something I learned, I am a teacher. I am someone who loves to share and help others. Each time I share and encourage someone, I am a leader. So at this point for me, these aren't just habits, they've become part of my identity. I am someone who loves to learn. I am a reader. I am someone who loves to take care of my body. I am an athlete. I am someone who loves to share, teach, and encourage others. I am a leader. I am someone who makes Google slideshows now. That's slowly becoming part of not just my habits, but eventually something that, because I really care about it, something I want to do, because I want to teach and encourage others, slideshows is probably going to become part of my identity because I kind of enjoyed making this thing. So these aren't just goals or habits anymore. They're part of my identity. So I'm never going to go anywhere. Whether I hit a particular goal or not, whether my income goes up or down, I'm here for life because it's what I love. It's my identity. So how do you change your identity? So again, most of my life, I didn't really consider myself a reader. I thought I was a terrible reader. I didn't consider myself a teacher. I didn't consider myself a leader, or, someone who's going to make slideshows and share with other people. They weren't part of my identity. So why would I do those consistently? But here's the good and the bad news. Every belief about yourself is learned and conditioned through experience. The more you repeat a behavior, the more you reinforce your identity. Your habits literally shape your identity and vice versa. Here's something I thought was really cool. The word identity was derived from two Latin words, assentius and identitum, which mean being and repeatedly. Your identity is literally your repeated beingness. Okay. The two laws of changing your identity. Write this down. Number one, and we're starting from the core and we'll work our way back, but there's two laws of changing your identity, because we already just did that exercise where our identities for a lot of us aren't where we want them to be. Our identity is just our beliefs about ourselves. And we just identified quite a few self-limiting beliefs that are playing into our current identity. The cool thing is that you can change your identity through your repeated beingness. So, but number one is decide the type of person you want to be. Two laws of changing your identity. Number one, decide the type of person you want to be. And that's a big question, and we're going to unpack it, but you can write that down for now. Number two, prove it to yourself with small wins. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Decide the type of person you want to be is number one, right? So take 2 minutes with this. I'm going to ask you, and you can ask yourself, who is the type of person that could get the outcome I want? We already identified 3 goals that are really important to us. And we even narrowed it down to the one that was the most important to us. Who is the type of person that could get that outcome? For example, who is the type of person that could generate a ripple effect that leads to hundreds of new partners and customers? Someone who is consistently growing and sharing. Someone who keeps it fun and simple. But what was the most important goal to you? And who is the type of person that would be able to achieve that? So instead of who is the type of person that could generate a ripple effect that leads to hundreds of new partners and customers, it shifts to being someone who is consistently growing and sharing, someone who keeps it fun and simple. Your focus is shifting from an outcome-based, hundreds of new partners and customers, that outer layer outcome-based goals, to an identity-based, to being the type of person who is just consistent. And these are things that who is the type of person that I want to be, not just in my business, but in my relationship with my significant other? Who's the type of person I want to be as far as fitness and nutrition, mindset, growth? Who's the type of person I want to be for my family, for my friends, for contributing to society as a whole? So number one, decide the type of person you want to be. You guys can share what came up for you. What are some of the things or attributes of the person that would be able to easily achieve that most important goal that you put for yourself. Someone who keeps their word, great one. Someone people trust by lighting the path. Someone who follows through and doesn't give up. Someone who is consistently growing, keeps promises to herself, stays lighthearted, is determined, and takes care of her health. Someone who is consistent, intentional, confident, authentic, clear boundaries, courageous, unapologetic. Someone that's relatable. Someone who's reliable, consistent, and inspiring. Someone who keeps going even if they fall. Someone who will continue learning and educating. Someone who is good with time management. Someone who is dedicated and is constant and reliable. Someone who's consistently follows simple systems, keeps learning to better mentor and serve, and uses creativity to keep all processes fun, playful, and community-centric. Someone who is grounded. This is amazing. This is so good. Okay. Number 2, once you have identified all those things you guys just said were amazing, and you have the ability to be that person, you have to prove it to yourself that you are that person with small wins. So here's a quick video from the author. This is the first video of his voice about small wins and proving it to yourself. He refers to small wins as votes. Each time you do show up and read, you are a reader. That's a vote in the right box. You're proving to yourself that that is who you say you are. You're proving to yourself that that is your new identity. Unfortunately, this proving it to yourself works both ways. You can, every time you take the actions that you want, that's a vote in the right direction for the identity, the new identity that you're creating. When you skip or do something that you didn't necessarily want to, or the person you said you want to become wouldn't do that thing, that's a vote in the other box. So let me just play this little quick, I think it's like 20-30-second video about proving it to yourself once you've identified the person that you want to be, the person that would be able to achieve those goals that you set for yourself.
Every action you take is kind of like a vote for the type of person you want to become. And if you can master the right actions, if you can master the right habits, then you can start to cast votes for this new identity, this desired person that you want to be. And I think that's one of the reasons why small habits matter so much. They don't necessarily transform your life overnight, right away. Like doing one push-up does not transform your body, but it does cast a vote for being the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. Or meditating for 1 minute might not give you an immediate sense of calm in your life, but it does cast a vote for being a meditator. The real goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to write a book. The goal is to become a writer. Because once you've adopted that identity, you're really not even pursuing behavior change anymore. You're just kind of acting in alignment with the type of person you already see yourself to be. It's kind of like true behavior change is really identity change. Because once you've changed that internal story, it's way easier to show up each day. You're not even really motivating yourself that much to do it. You're just like, this is who I am now.
So habits lead to results, but more importantly, they teach you to trust yourself. No single action will transform your beliefs, but as the votes add up, so does the evidence for this new identity. Okay, so 4 laws of habit forming. noticing, wanting, doing, like. So the author uses these 4 to show you how you can create a habit that's going to stick around long term. Those words on the right, those are very similar to the words on the left, but those are what scientists use for people that have addictions or bad habits. So the author basically used the science of habits to show you how to create good ones. These on the right here, cue, craving, response, reward. This is the same habit loop, but just used in a negative way. And most of the time, these are habits that we're doing unconsciously. So here's a little quick video about the habit loop that a lot of times we're doing unconsciously.
Cue, mind goes blank at work, craving, want to alleviate the frustration, response, check social media, reward, satisfy the need to feel less frustrated. Over time, rewards become associated with cues. So in this example, checking social media becomes tied to your mind going blank at work. And then checking Facebook may be the cue to check Instagram, which becomes the cue to watch YouTube. And before you know it, your mind going blank cue has led to 20 minutes of wasted time. And the more you repeat these habit loops, the stronger and more automatic they become.
So what are some of the things that are your distractions? What are some of the things that get in your way? Because you guys all have listed these amazing goals and listed all these attributes of these people that if you turned into and created your identity around those attributes, you'd be able to achieve those goals. But what are the things in your life that are holding you back from that? I know for me, a lot of times just consuming content by scrolling, and then all of a sudden an hour goes by, that's not getting me anywhere. You know, that's not a vote in the right box. But what are some of the ones that you guys get stuck with? And then again, like when I started to identify some of these things, I really asked myself, like, what is this costing me? So my first few years as a coach, when I had these self-limiting beliefs at the core, my habits weren't in alignment with what I really wanted to achieve as far as goals. And I realized that those scrolling on social media or continuing to play this loop of self-limiting beliefs was costing me a lot. It's costing me a lot of peace of mind. It was costing me a sense of fulfillment. It was costing me financial freedom to a certain degree. Especially when I started thinking about what this would cost me 5 years down the road if I continued with these habits that weren't serving me. Because after those first 4 years went by where I wasn't staying consistent with my habits, I started to think, what would it feel like if the next 4 years went by and I still hadn't changed anything? That's when the regret starts to become much stronger than the pain of just being disciplined. Okay, so I see that in the chat. Very cool. Okay, so the 4 laws of creating a habit that's going to actually stick around. Law 1, noticing. Make it obvious. Most people think that they lack motivation, but they really just lack clarity. So they say, I'm going to work out more, but they don't set a specific time and a place. So law number 1 is noticing, and the way you can start to notice or make it obvious is by setting specific times and places for certain things. So here's a quick example of that.
Clearly state your intention to act using the following formula. I will behavior at time in this location. Here is a bad example. I will read more this month. Here is a good example. I will read a book for 15 minutes daily at 6 a.m. in the spare bedroom.
So anybody have examples that this has worked for them? Or examples where they haven't done this and it's backfired on them? Setting a specific time. Does anybody on the call have a specific time and place that they do their workouts? A specific time and place that they do their power hour? A specific time and place that you get your 10 minutes of personal development in? Yes, I will get up and work out at 5:15. That's much more making it obvious than I'm going to work out more. I will work out at 5:45 a.m. in my apartment gym. I'll go to bed before 10 p.m. That's one that I'm working on. Also, one that example that I do is I will put my phone on airplane mode at 9 p.m. I will not take my phone off airplane mode until my morning routine is done. These are great. Okay, law 1, noticing, making it obvious. Law 2, wanting, make it attractive. So you can make good habits more attractive, or you can make bad habits unattractive by creating your environment. So, for example, every day I place a big glass of water in the kitchen, and I also place a big glass of water at my desk. And I also place my book in my designated spot for reading each morning. So I don't know if you guys have any examples of creating your environment, making it a little bit more attractive. I know I have an example of how I make certain bad habits less attractive. I can't have potato chips in my apartment. Ever. If potato chips are in my apartment, they're gonna be gone at some point. I might have a day or two where I have the willpower to not eat the chips. I don't know, for you guys, it might be more of a chocolate tooth, sweet tooth. For me, it's chips, salty. So I just don't keep those things in my apartment, which makes things a little bit easier. Curious what examples you guys have. Don't buy ice cream and cookies every time. I take my PD book out and put it in my nightstand for the morning. I put my workout clothes on as soon as I wake up. I leave the PD on the counter and be done working out by 7:30. I watch music videos when I row. Setting workout and workout clothes for the morning. Make my lunch the night before. I can't have Oreos in my house. That's true. That's another one. I can't have that in my house. Those are kryptonite. I lay out my workout clothes the night before. Fun workout clothes, good music. I love it. So another thing that helps with making it attractive is a mantra that the author uses. The mantra is one space, one use. And this is scientifically proven that if you have separate spaces for each activity, so a separate space for a sleeping zone, your work zone, your reading zone, your relaxing zone. I'm sure a lot of you guys have tried this. I've tried this before too. But if I ever try to get work done in my relaxing zone, it doesn't happen. I end up watching TV or getting distracted, scrolling social media. It's important to have those, to have your relaxing zone, to have that time to just chill, watch Netflix, do some scrolling if you want, but have those designated spots for those things. A zone that's just for sleeping, that's not where you're going to be on your phone. A zone that's just for your workouts, a zone that's just for getting your work done. A zone that I have my little zone over here that's just where I have my personal development book. For this presentation, for wanting to be able to share something with you guys, I kind of had to create habits and systems. My goal was to be able to share this stuff with you, but the habit and systems I had to put in place where I had to lay my book out in a particular place that I knew I was going to read at the exact same time in that same place. And that kept me consistent enough to get through it. And I enjoyed it. I looked forward to it. So we talked about how to break bad habits, making it invisible, airplane mode, putting your phone in another room. Just putting your phone in another room is enough to make it a little bit harder to grab it and scroll on it. I do that all the time. I'll put it on airplane mode, or I'll put it in another room if I'm on my computer doing some work. Having my phone right next to me, it's such a part of who we are. We can easily just grab it, and next thing you know, we're scrolling through stuff that's meaningless to us. Time limits on your apps. I'll even delete Instagram from my phone if I know I'm done with it for the day. For me, Instagram's the most dangerous app on my phone. It's the one that I'm all of a sudden in Instagram and I don't even remember clicking on the app. So a lot of times I just delete it and then re-upload it. It takes 30 seconds the next day when I need it. He used an example of unplugging your TV when you're done with it. And that just having to plug your TV back in a lot of times keeps you from watching as much TV as you really want to. But you guys can share any other examples you have of that. Another example we had of making it a little bit more attractive was temptation bundling. I think I saw Rich Davies share this. So you bundle two things together, something that you really enjoy with something that you don't necessarily want to do, but you need to do, like playing really good music that you love while you're working out. And then another one is group influence. So this is something he said is the most powerful way to make a habit more attractive is group influence. Surrounding yourself with other people that are participating and creating the same habits in their life. And then one quote from that law 2 that I really liked was, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. And that's something that I've definitely learned. It makes, as you start to fix your environment and change your environment certain ways to make good habits more attractive and make bad habits less attractive, it does really shape your human behavior. Okay, let's jump into law 3 and 4, and then we're done. So law 3 is doing it, just doing it, and making it easy. So 2-minute drill. Have any of you guys heard of the 2-minute drill? Nobody. So the 2-minute drill is something I heard of. I loved his spin on it. So anytime you start a new habit, you want to make it easy. And he suggests even just doing 2 minutes of it. So if you want to start a workout routine, do 2 minutes of walking. He said you could even go a step for even more drastic and just, your first step is lay your walking shoes by the bed. lay your walking shoes by the bed. But the 2-minute drill works with a lot of things. And a lot of people, when I've shared this 2-minute drill over the years, because it's something I've heard before, you know, my first thought was like, yeah, like, what am I going to get out of 2 minutes? What's the point of just doing something for 2 minutes? I'm not going to get anything out of that. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me to do it for 2, because then I'll probably do it for longer, because once I've started it, I'll be in the zone a little bit with it. I get what you're trying to, I see what you're trying to do. For people like that, like, you can make an agreement with yourself that you're only allowed to do it for 2 minutes. Even if you get done with 2 minutes and you want to keep going, don't allow yourself to in the beginning with something. If you have trouble with being consistent with inviting, set a goal of 2 invites and don't let yourself do more than 2 to start for the first week or month. You could even do 1 invite. It works with anything. You know, one of the examples he used was only allow yourself to do 1 push-up. This is what starts to kind of make it easy. Okay, law 4. So this is the one he says is the most important. So liking, making it satisfying, rewarding. The main reason we repeat habits is because we like the reward. So the problem is, though, how do you create present moment rewards when we're doing things that the results are delayed? And one of the things he suggested was getting a calendar with 30 boxes. And each time you finish a habit, you get to have the reward of checking that box off. The thing that I've liked even more than that is this app, this little picture on the right. It's called Habit Share. I've been doing it now for the last 3 weeks, and I'm obsessed with it. So I put all my little habits into this. This picture is I got offline. It's not my exact habits, but I have all my little morning habits and all my, you know, things I want to get done for work each day. And once I've completed that, I just get to click the little circle for the day, and it turns the circle green. If I didn't do it that day, I click the little circle and it's red. So there's a lot of things we're doing, whether it's working out or building our business, where there is that delayed reward. But being able to just go in and click that little button and turn green, for me, is like a dopamine hit. I love it. It also keeps my mind so much more quiet. Like, I'm not thinking about all the things I need to do because I've laid them all out in this Habit Share app. I don't have to think, oh, I better not forget to do that thing. It's like, no, I'm going to get to it because it's in the app, and I'm going to change all those circles green and get that dopamine hit. And I've become so much more productive in those last 3 weeks just from using this. The other cool thing about the Habit Share app is you can see your friends' habits and they can see yours. So I have a couple of friends of mine that have this app, and I can see how they're doing. They can see how I'm doing. You can set it up so that it even gives you notification when someone has completed their habit, but it's just an extra accountability. So for me, this has made those little mundane, unsexy tasks that don't seem like they're doing anything in the moment, it gives me a reward every time for doing it, even though the real reward is going to be delayed in the future. Okay, so I highly recommend at least trying the Habit Share app. It's free, and you can just start out by adding like 1 or 2 habits and just kind of see how you like hitting that little circle each day and seeing it turn green, because I love it. All right. Last little 30-second video here on how to handle the inevitable bad days.
In spite of your best efforts, it is inevitable that life will interrupt you at some point. A bad day at work, a bad performance, or a bad workout can happen to anyone. When you're having a bad day, you don't realize how valuable it is to just show up. Lost days hurt you more than successful days help you. Don't break the chain. Every time you cross a day off your calendar for a given habit, you are creating a chain. Showing up is so important. Missing 2 days or links in a row is the start of a bad habit. Even if you usually do 50 push-ups, just do 10 on that given day, if that means not breaking the chain. In spite of your best efforts, it is inevitable.
You guys see that still or no? All right, I'm gonna wrap this up in 100 seconds. All right, that thing from that last video, lost days hurt you more than successful days help you. And then don't break the chain, even if it means just doing less than you were gonna do. And that's something with this Habit Share app, if I don't get the exact amount of a certain sit-ups or push-ups or a certain amount of minutes reading, I just do enough to be able to hit that and turn it green so I don't break that chain. Okay, so we kind of, the last little recap. So overcoming the valley of disappointment, being one of those 2%ers. We rise to the level of our systems and habits. We went over the three layers of change, where that deepest core level of change is identity, and then working our way backwards from there. Then we went over the 2 laws to change your identity. I hope you guys remember those 2. Deciding, who the type of person you want to be is, and then proving that to yourself every day with small wins. And then we just hit the 4 laws of habit forming. And the last thing, I just want to give a couple little quick book recommendations around some of these things. So obviously Atomic Habits. If you haven't read The Slight Edge yet by Jeff Olson, that's the very first personal development book I ever read that didn't dive into the core of what this book was. This book took it to another level, but it's a great book to start with. The Slight Edge, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. And I want to throw in Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Metcalf, because and Wala's new program coming out is named after that book. I know a lot of the coaches on our team, our partners on our team, that's one of their favorite of all time. Chop Wood, Carry Water. All right, it is 8:01. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my very first ever Google Slides presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next Monday. Thanks, guys.